Hello everyone, Clack of the Geek here, and welcome back to another Bond video. So, No Time to Die is nearly out. The premiere was yesterday as I'm recording this, and, there's so much hype around it. So, I thought, do some more Bond videos, and today I'm going to start ranking the film. Eventually I will do a ranking of every film, but I'm going to try and do rankings of films for each actor. So, today we're going to be doing Sean Connery's films. I'm going to be ranking all 6 official Sean Connery films today, not including Never Say Never Again, the unofficial Thunderball remake from the 80s. That's not included because I haven't seen it, it's not official, and based on what I've heard, not really worth my time, is it? And most of all, this is just my opinion, so you know that I'm a controversial bugger, so you're not going to agree with the list, but you can enjoy the list. So sit back, relax, get a drink, shake it, not stir it, and let's get into it. In last place, we have Thunderball. I can easily call this the most overrated Bond film. It's often put in high regard as in the level of Dr. No from Russia with Love, Goldfinger is the original film. It's one of the iconic ones. I think for a long time until Skyfall, it was the highest grossing at the box office with inflation counted, and it's always one that's very iconic, but I didn't enjoy it. The film was just incredibly long, drawn out, a real slog to get through, and it just dragged and dragged and dragged, and it was boring for me. I mean, the underwater scenes, God, they do really drag for me. But as well as that, a lot of the film has quite a few faults. I mean, for me, Connery, this is the start of where he kind of was looking bored throughout the whole thing. Largo is a pretty villain. Domino is okay, but I don't know, she wasn't too fussed. I do like Fiona as the hench person. I think she's really good. I think she's kind of, the first femme fatale character, but I think she's really good. But the film does look really nice. It's the first one that went for a proper widescreen, and it makes it very cinematic, and the quality of the image, with the stuff, the beach or in the streets, it's a very nice looking film, very well photographed, that's the right word. There's a few other good moments, I like the pre-title sequence, even if it's a bit ropey in parts, and it's just not one that I enjoy. In 5th place, I've got Dr. No, the original, you might say. So yeah, you might be surprised that this film is as low down as it is, but not that I don't dislike this film. Thunderball I don't like, but this, from here on out, I like these films now. But Dr. No, it's a good film, it's a solid, fun time, but it's quite tame when you compare it to what you get later on. It's very standard, and it's, the future films improve on the formula. So, you watch this now, and it's quite simplistic, it's quite basic, and it's not bad by any stretch. It's definitely iconic, but it's not one that I think you would choose to rewatch. I mean, Connery's incredible. Everybody knows his first scene. Ursula Andrews is great. Everybody knows her coming out of the sea. And there's some really good writing, some good dark humour, lovely locations in Jamaica. But as I say, it's very standard, and it's, not one that you would choose to go back and watch, I think. But still, for 1962 and, for what it achieved, it has to, get... massive props has to be given to this film. At number 4, we have Diamonds Are Forever. Now, this is one that I think people would usually have at last place, but I really enjoy it. I mean, okay, it's probably my guilty pleasure Bond film. There's certain films like Moonraker that, people do deride, but I will always defend, because I genuinely think Moonraker is brilliant. I always will. Sorry. But Diamonds Are Forever, I enjoy it, but objectively, it's not very good, is it? But yeah, I have a lot of fun with this film. I think Connery's kind of back on his game after Thunderball and You Only Live Twice. He looks like he's having more fun, even though he does look quite a bit older. Tiffany Case is actually one of the best Bond girls. She's just very charismatic and sassy, and she's really good. Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd are pretty cool henchmen, and fun fact, Mr. Wint is actually played by Bruce Glover, who is the real-life father of Crispin Glover, George McFly from Back to the Future. The more you know. And as campy as he is, I can't help but love Charles Gray as Blofeld. Ironically, maybe, but I do love him. But yeah, the film is pretty shabby in parts. It's quite schlocky. It's not very glamorous. The action's quite tacky in places. It is a bit naff, but I enjoy it. And it's got one of the best songs in the whole series. At number 3, we have Goldfinger. Now, I think Goldfinger is somewhat, not fully, but somewhat a victim of its own success. I think it's not the best Bond film. I think there are better ones, but it's still fantastic. Connery is amazing. Gert Frober's Goldfinger, possibly the best Bond villain. From at the minute, I would probably have to say him. Honor Blackman's Pussy Galore, Odd Job, Jill and Tilly Masterson, the DB5, the Golden Woman at the start of the film. You know, I mean, the pre-title sequence, that great little action scene with the shocking, positively shocking remark. It's so iconic. Literally, it barely has any problems for me. I do think that some of the pacing is a bit off, and there are some scenes that haven't aged well, but overall, it is brilliant. In second place is You Only Live Twice, Sean Connery's final film, initially. Now, Connery is very much the weak link in this. I think, you know, at this point he was fed up with Bond, and it does really show. He doesn't look like he wants to. He looks quite zoned out throughout the whole thing, and you know, him going Japanese at the end of the film is just, it makes no sense, and it is a bit dodgy. But when everything else is at such a high standard, I can overlook that. It's directed by Lewis Gilbert, who is possibly my favourite Bond director. He also did Spy Love Me and Moonraker, and I love the grandiose bombasticness about it. I love that kind of Bond. I guess it's kind of my style of Bond. The locations in Tokyo is probably the best sort of travel log kind of Bond, you know, when he's travelling around. I think it's done the best here. Tokyo in the 60s, the way it's caught on film at this point is beautiful. There's some brilliant characters. Some of the Bongos are really good. Tanaka as Bond's ally, he's great. Donald Pleasance, you know, Sam Loomis from Halloween as Blofeld, the best Blofeld by far. Some fantastic action. The Little Nelly chase, the helicopter chase, I love that scene. It's so good. The volcano layer, it's incredible. This film is just incredible, and like Goldfinger, I think really does, in the public eye, it's what people imagine of Bond, I think. And at number 1, From Russia with Love. I was quite nervous going into this film because, as I say, I prefer big bombastic kind of Bond, and this is quite small scale in comparison to some of them, you know, like You Only Live Twice, The Spy Loved Me, GoldenEye, etc, etc. But I was enthralled throughout this entire thing. This has got to be the best spy story in all of the Bond films. It's so intriguing, so interesting. I love that first time you properly see Spectre in this film. Villains are fantastic, whether it's Rosa Klebb or Red Grant, played by a pre-Jaws Robert Shaw. Yeah, Quinn from Jaws is in this film. Connery is on his A game, like Goldfinger, his best performance tied with that film. Tanya's great, his allies are great. Isn't the first film with a pre-title sequence? First one with Q in Desmond Llewellyn, and the action is so good. Whether it's the pre-title sequence and a bit of mystery, whether it's the gypsy camp fight, whether it's the train fight, that is iconic. It's brilliant. Or the boat chase, you know, with all the boats exploding. It's a bit bigger. It's a bit, you know, more rough around the edges, and it goes further and further. And this really was it was fantastic. And I think this film kind of sort of destroyed the notion that Bond has to be a specific thing. Because people have preferences, you know, people prefer it when it's more, you know, gritty, Ian Fleming-esque Bond. Other people prefer it more big and bombastic, and I prefer it that kind of way with stuff like Spy Loved Me, Moonraker, GoldenEye, etc. But if the film's good, if the film's great and entertaining to watch, then I will really get a lot out of it, like From Russia with Love, like License to Kill. And there's other grittier films like Casino Royale or For Your Eyes Only that I think I appreciate that they're really good, but I don't enjoy them as much. But this film is absolutely incredible. And that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. What are your thoughts? How would you rank the Connery Bond films? If you want to include Never Say Never Again, go ahead, you know, feel free. Have a discussion in the comments, like and subscribe. Click the bell so you don't miss a thing. And this is Clack of the Geek, signing out. Ta-ta.